Greetings and welcome, everyone. It's All You Can Geek Moviecast, episode 505. I'm one of your hosts, Jim Gass, joined by Mike Sneedy.
What's up?
Corey Feinsod.
Woo!
And Tony Korkanakis.
Hello.
Welcome, guys. Welcome, listeners and viewers, to the 505 of the podcast.
Yes.
I like that. It's a good number. Just kind of, we should just leave it always at 505.
There it is.
So, yes. Man, it's been an interesting week this week with the movies, movie theaters and everything like that. Everything's getting delayed, obviously. It was always getting delayed. But now we're actually having movie theaters not opening across the country because of this crazy pandemic. And so Tenet finally got delayed, which is good, indefinitely. So I'm just leading it off with that. That's our lead right now. I'm happy to hear that. So before we get into what we've been up to, I just want to mention Tenet has been delayed indefinitely. Nolan will not allow that movie to come out digitally. Do not expect that. It'll just be delayed till next year for the movie theaters, I'm thinking. So we'll get it next summer, I'm guessing. That's my guess. Nothing out there.
I don't know. I think he's probably going to do it as soon as he's allowed, which is definite. It probably will be sooner than that, I would think. But
I just don't see the movie theaters reopening with everything happening, and then we're going to get. But
everything, as long as they're allowed to, will. So
the problem
if it's like 30% or something like that.
The closer we get to the fall, the more of a chance it's not going to happen, because then we're going to have the flu season start up again, and then it's going to be who they have the flu or do they have COVID. It's going to happen. I'm sorry, Mike. It's things are not going to open if they don't open now.
I don't necessarily agree, but
certain things are just not going to open. They're just not. Like I've given up hope on the gym, which I can't wait for the Gamecast to talk about. And
there are already places like that open somewhere?
What, in our state?
Maybe.
Illegally. No, they're going to be shutting things. They're going to have to shut things down. I know that there's certain states that are rejecting that option, and those are the ones that have 15,000 cases a day. Not to name any states, Florida, but it's nasty out there in certain areas. So, I think that proves that it's not like we can't open. It's just a matter of opening slowly and controlled. It's a better option than just opening the floodgates and letting all havoc break.
Not to mention these companies aren't going to want to do that because they're going to get a fraction of the money that they're expecting to make on this. Not to mention they're already concerned with, wow, okay, so you let a third of the people in the theater, great. That makes it just easier for them to, just record the movie and distribute it illegally, online, stuff like that. It's going to happen. So why would they do that?
Well, the theaters want something more than nothing. And,
cool. Well, the theaters can make their own movies then.
So, it's his decision really with his production company, and he seems hell-bent on it being in a theater more than anywhere else. So
I think he
wanted to lead everyone with the first real movie out there in there. So if it's 30%, I'm sure he'll be down for it. And so that's why I think it'll happen sooner than the summer, I think.
We're in the summer.
Next summer. That's what
next summer. Okay. Well, I mean, obviously,
I was like,
it's like, well, you got to give me the April window too. I mean, that's where I think you're going to say before that. Yeah. Summer movies, April, May.
I don't know. It's hard to predict anything, but I do think there will be something that you're going to get like lower occupancy by, I think, early part of next year in a lot of places, but we'll see.
If we get some good treatments coming up, hopefully we can do that. That would be ease the virus, and that'll be good. But let's get into what I've been up to, guys. Watching wise, I've only watched High Score Girl really. I've watched a few episodes. I was trying to finish season 1. I'm not done with season 1 yet. It's a lot longer than I expected, actually. It's like 22 episodes, I think, and I'm on episode 15. So I'm pretty far through it. 15, is that right? 15, yeah.
I think the whole series is only like 26, dude.
No, I thought I'm on season 1 still. Where's Netflix here?
No, because season 2 I think has the blonde girl come into it.
No, the blonde girl's in it.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Season
2 is when she gets introduced, I thought.
Oh.
Because like the end of season 1 is when she leaves.
Yeah, that's the end of season 1, dude.
Oh my gosh. Okay, then I'm in season 2.
Yeah.
No, it says on Netflix it says season 1. I'm on episode 12.
What?
It says season 1, episode 12, and he just failed his mission of not to give up storyline, but he had a mission that he wanted to do something for something.
I was pretty sure that season 2 is like the end of season 1 was when she left.
It's pretty awesome though. Is the last episode was about how he's like in love with the Sega Saturn, and that's the system that he threw himself in with.
Yeah.
So
it's my boy.
Yeah, but there is a season 2. It is 15 episodes. I'm on episode 12. Season 1 is 15 episodes. Season 2 is 20. Oh yeah, there's not much in season 2 at all. That's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I've watched that, and but I have been reading a comic book. I've never read The House of M. Believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah. So now I'm
on. Love Magneto. How the hell have you never read that?
I've never.
And
I just never. Read it.
And you knew like mutants were so scarce in the Marvel comic universe for a while because of this, right?
Yeah.
Now you know why.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know the extent of. I'm only on issue 4 for it. Wolverine basically just realized what was going on, and people are trying to track him down, kind of thing. So it's interesting. So I the mystery's still out there for me, exactly how far this spreads. But I know Xavier's gone, and I know mutants are in control of everything now, and they actually persecute the Homo sapiens. So it's interesting. I don't know. I just never read it. I thought it would be. I have it. I've had it when you remember Amazon had that big sale on tons of stuff. I bought a ton of stuff and I never read it. It just happened.
Is it physically or is it digitally?
No, digitally. I just happened to get myself a tablet, testing it out for work. For work purposes. I'm testing it for work, so now I had to test the reader side of things. So I'm testing my comic books. As any good employee.
I mean, you could do that. Who's going to tell you can't?
Yeah, exactly.
Don't know if it's going to work for the kids.
They're going to have to complain to the tech guy to block those things.
You got to see what you can actually get through before actually.
Yeah. Well, that's what I want to see. It's testing my firewalls. All right. So that's really it for me. I think I haven't really watched much in terms of, except for like Muppet movies. I've been watching a lot of Muppet, the original stuff. Yeah.
Did Tim make you do this?
No, Arya's gotten really into that. Okay. So it's like, yeah.
New Muppet stuff or the old Muppet stuff?
Old Muppet stuff. So, I watched the original Muppet movie, Muppets Take Manhattan, The Great Muppet Caper. I don't know. I think I'm kind of in that mode because we're going to get that new Muppet show on the 31st. So I'm kind of also like, yeah, let's watch some Muppet stuff. I'm cool with that. So, she watches her Muppet weird. Baby. She's like, it's a little different for her than the Muppet Baby.
It's weird to me because now I'm thinking like time-wise, like a kid watching stuff like that. It's got to be like when we watched like I Love Lucy on Nick at Night or something to them.
Not really.
50 years prior. What's the oldest like Muppet stuff is like 60s, 70s. That's 50 years prior.
Oh yeah, I know it is, but it's like, I don't know. It's not the same in terms of because it's Muppets. I don't know. It's the same thing. It's not the same because it
was like I was watching Flintstones, probably.
Yeah, that could be. So yeah,
I don't think the comparison's that off, but I think it's a better because it's still animated, for kids stuff. Like I don't think. I mean, I watched I Love Lucy when it was on at like Nick at Night, but I was like, why is this so funny?
Yeah. No, she likes Muppets, so yeah. So all right, and that's really it for me. Mike, what have you been watching?
So I minutes ago finished the first season of Upload.
Okay.
I'm a little disappointed with the sort of cliffhanger-y ending here, especially since it's probably going to take a long time to get to a second season. But it's dramatic at least.
Yeah.
And I also rolled over first to the second season of Doom Patrol. Now Doom Patrol, I said before I wasn't like binging it. Now I got into it enough where I would watch maybe 2 episodes in one night, which is a lot sometimes. I am liking it. It's still crazy, and I'm realizing now, even though I think I knew this before, that this is the DC thing that Marvel ripped off to make the X-Men. I kind of like forgot that. I think I knew this fact before, but I never knew what the Doom Patrol was. I'm like, oh, just the more you see with the Chief just being like, this British dude in a wheelchair, just in this mansion with everyone, it's like, oh, okay, this is where that came from first. But the first season ended with a revelation that again was somewhat predictable, and in a relatively unpredictable show, but it was still like dramatic. And now I'm like 3-ish episodes of the second season, and I'm not loving the direction of the second season so far, but maybe it gets better. There's just a new character involved that I find kind of annoying. But we'll see. I really do like it though, in general.
Good.
So, and it's just Brendan Fraser is funny. The voice, like just swearing all the time. As a big robot, I guess it's because his voice is just kind of like always a big and dumb voice, so it works.
Yeah.
But I'm liking some of the characters in surprising ways I didn't expect, so it's good. But that's it. Those 2 shows.
All right, Tony. Anything?
Nothing for me this week.
Okay, Corey.
Yeah, not too much. Mostly, actually, I've been listening to some books on audio, just not trying to, but I got caught up in the Stormlight stuff with the Kickstarter that came out, and so I'm like, going through that again.
You love that series. How many times have you read that series?
Well, 4 times. This is 4. Number 5.
I mean, I've read Game of Thrones 4 times, I think, so I can't argue with you. I know when you love the series.
Song of Ice and Fire, or just
Song of Ice and Fire. Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, no, I think I've gone through that a few times too.
Yeah, so
these are definitely much bigger, especially like the early books, Game of Thrones and Storm of Swords and Clash of Kings. Those are shorter.
Yeah, I mean those are the
compared to what he's doing now, but
yeah,
those are great though.
Yep. Okay, cool. That brings us into the news. Let's see what we've got here this week. Not much going on, like I said. Everything's kind of on delay. We're going to get a Comic-Con panel for the New Mutants, though. That's happening. Comic-Con at home, July 23rd, which is this week.
Happening this week.
Yeah. We're going to get a New Mutants panel. I kind of think it's interesting that they chose to have that at Comic-Con, because I feel like even now, more so, there's more of a chance it's coming to Disney Plus.
Well, it says we have like a tweet.
Was it? I mean, is it definitely coming to Disney Plus?
There was a trailer that somebody had.
It's a fake.
I thought it looked really well, except for like the transition. Well done. Where I was like, okay, but at the same time, I was like, do they really want to throw a lot of budget making the scene transitions, like the cuts?
Right. I mean, I don't know if there's any new footage though. I don't know if I saw.
I thought that's what I saw online. That people said, well, there's new footage in here. I don't know about that, but apparently there's something where, what was it, Trolls? That was right.
Trolls 2 that came out this year.
Trolls 2. Yeah,
that was like one of the first ones to do the digital thing.
Well, apparently it's not coming to, I don't know, HBO Max or whatever like that. It's going to one of the other services, and it's because apparently there is some stipulation in the clause or contract that says if you didn't release in the movie theaters, like it's null and void. So they don't have to release it on HBO Max. They can put it on another service. So now the speculation is that because Disney can opt to not release it in theaters, they can just skip it and put it directly on one of their digital services of choice instead of having to do HBO Max, which again makes sense to me. Like, I mean, they're never getting money out of it. Never. Ever.
And it doesn't make sense to put something like to wait for the theaters for this movie again. It might as well just be out digitally. I can't wait to watch this movie. I have to at this point. It's like, it's going to be terrible. It might be terrible. It might be great. I got to see it at this point. It's been so long. We have to check it out. Yeah. I think we should do that as a podcast. Somehow, we have to watch this. I'm sorry, guys. I really think we should.
I'm up for it. I would even do like a live action, like reaction to it or something.
Yeah, we can live stream.
Yeah. Or not live stream, but Twitch?
I mean, just do reactions. It'd be
if this wasn't the last vestiges of like the pre-Disney like takeover, like Fox stuff, like there'd be like zero interest in this, like for me at all. Like it's just
because there's no future. That's why.
Yeah, wait, Mike, are you saying right now that you're not interested in anything Marvel does with the X-Men?
I'm not interested in New Mutants because it's like
there's no future for the.
It's an artifact of something that doesn't exist anymore. And also, I wasn't interested in it even within that universe because it's not the mutants I care about.
It was also supposed to be a completely separate story anyways then. So, all right.
So, yeah, we'll see.
We'll see. Yeah. Netflix news, we've got Cobra Kai, we mentioned a couple weeks ago, was bought by them, saved from YouTube's closure of its services. And so season 3 will be happening early next year on Netflix, but Cobra Kai seasons 1 and 2, which I have not seen season 2 yet, will be appearing next month.
See, look at that. Look at that. One of the services is gone already. YouTube Red.
Yep.
Yes. Gone.
Leave it to Google. Leave it to Google to just.
I never even tried the free trial because it was like no point in this.
Yeah.
How did you watch Cobra Kai then?
I didn't watch Cobra Kai.
You never watched Cobra Kai?
Good. Oh, you gotta watch this. You have Netflix now, though, right?
Yes.
Good. Then you need to watch this. Without.
They had like a couple episodes for free. Like
one or two.
It was the first 3 I think were free.
I think it was only 2, but yeah, I watched those and I was like, oh, it's good.
I love the series, so yeah. I don't know. We'll see. They're also Netflix is throwing a shit ton of money to some movie, the Gray Man.
It's the
starring
Chris
Ryan
Evans.
Gosling. Yeah.
And yeah, Chris Evans and Josh. Or is it Gosling? Ryan Gosling. That's it.
Ryan Gosling. Yeah.
What is this about? Do we know what it's about?
Well, it's by the Russo brothers, right?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, is this their second project for Netflix now? This will be the second one.
Mm-hmm.
They did the Hemsworth movie, right?
Extraction. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So this is another one from them.
It's not about that.
Their first blockbuster. Apparently, the intention here is to create a new franchise with a James Bond level of scale and budget, upward of $200 million.
Million, Jesus. Yeah. Eyeing a January start date.
Yeah, it's based on the 2009 Mark Greaney novel that introduced the Gray Man, a freelance assassin, a former CIA operative named Court Gentry.
Okay.
Interesting.
So which one of them is the Gray Man?
We don't know.
The action thriller is a deadly duel between killers as Gentry/Gosling is hunted across the globe by Lloyd Hansen Evans, a former cohort.
Okay.
So Evans is playing a villain here.
Yeah.
And Gosling
Nice.
is going to be. I bet he's going to just pretty much be his his Blade Runner character.
Yeah.
Like that.
Anthony Russo is quoted as saying, "For those who are fans of Captain America, Winter Soldier, this is us moving into that territory in more of a real world setting. That's what this movie really means for us." So
spy espionage.
I think that's good for all of us, right? Because that was top ranked, right?
Yeah, that such the beats of that movie were so good. I'd love to see it in something else. Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So that's awesome. So. And lastly in the news, we got Tom Holland's Uncharted film has started. He took a picture of his chair on set or something like that. So this production has started.
Playing
Sully? Yes, Sully.
Sully. Jeez.
Yeah, I know you meant.
Thinking of Foster's Inc. here, mixing it up.
Marky Mark is playing Sully. This is obviously a prequel to the whole thing we've seen on the Uncharted series.
You got some of the kid Nate in 3 and 4. Spoiler alert.
This is definitely one where I think the names distract from the characters a little bit. I'd rather have both be unknown than, Marky Mark and Spider-Man.
This is the problem with like this franchise in specifically. I feel like Uncharted, Nathan Drake is that character that when you think of Uncharted, it's too tied. Like The Last of Us, I feel like they can make a show off of that and base it off of somebody else in that universe, and I think that would work just fine. We mentioned that. I don't think something would work.
Well, because the world's interesting in The Last of Us.
Yeah.
Uncharted, it's not about the world, it's about the character.
It's about the character. And that's why it's like, I know they did their Lost City expansion thing. Lost Legacy, thank you. And so many errors in this podcast so far. And that was a very good game. But
that works because it's a game. It's the same gameplay.
Yes.
But it's not. I don't really remember what happened in that story with those characters.
It's like trying to make a Halo show without Master Chief. You can't do it. They were going to try it and it just didn't work.
I think you could. I just don't think their execution was good.
Yeah, I think the Master Chief thing is not like the Halo world's pretty cool. I mean, and ODST was pretty good. So I think you could do it. And I don't know. I just feel like
some of that Halo anime was pretty good.
I thought the Halo show, the shorts were really good that we watched.
Yeah,
the live action thing we saw, but they still had him as
top of the animation.
No, Spartan was still there. I never saw the animation, so
we can have
or maybe if I did, I don't remember it. But
I just feel like 10 years ago, so.
There are certain names that need to be like Uncharted. I think you need to have Nathan Drake. I just think you do.
Well, now again, it's the problem with universe that you built around the character is just generic.
Like My thing is should it be a movie though? Like that's where I disagree here because I feel like the content is fine in a game. Yeah, so I feel like that's fine, and you can argue like Last of Us is similar, but that world is awesome where they can build a side story, nothing to do with those characters, and make a show with that.
You know what I mean? Like that's or is it just Walking Dead adjacent?
Am I making sense? Am I making sense?
Well, no, you are. But Uncharted is just Indiana Jones adjacent. Like that's what it is. Like let's call it what it is.
Like Indiana Jones, Tomb Raider, Uncharted, Tomb Raider, Uncharted, Indiana Jones.
Like, again, it's unique when it's a game. A little bit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it brought that climbing technique to it. That's what it brought to us. It brought us climbing.
I think Assassin's Creed did that better before them. But
no.
I think so. Yeah.
No. Uncharted. Uncharted was out before.
Does Uncharted predate the first Assassin's Creed? Hold on.
We gotta look this up, but I'm almost certain it does.
All I know is they were able to release all those Uncharted games before some like we talked about this before. Like they released Uncharted 1, 2, 3, 4 in the time it took a different company to release one game. Damn, what was that company? We talked about this on the
You can throw out Final Fantasy VII. I mean, you're probably not talking about that, but that's true.
All right, so first Assassin's Creed 2007, November 13th. Let's see.
That's early. That's actually early.
I mean, one of the first PlayStation 3 games was Uncharted 2.
Yeah.
So.
Uncharted November 19th, 2007. So,
yeah, you're right. I mean, so nothing's obviously
like 4 days earlier.
Yeah. So they both brought it. So that's fine. Like if it was a year apart, you could say one of them stole it, but no, they're both brought that. So, all right. That's it for the news. Let's get into what we want to discuss tonight, which is water cooler talk. It's what we think the next big show could be for that. There's a lot of stuff coming out soon. Game of Thrones is what we were talking about. Basically, how the discussion behind that is what made the series so attractive to a lot of people, is getting the water cooler talk at work and whatnot. And obviously, it's changed nowadays with what we got going on. But
yeah, it subverted a lot of expectations of what fantasy is, what structure of shows could be.
And I will say a little bit before that, even though it's still going on, was The Walking Dead did something similar.
And I would say before that was, Battlestar Galactica did a great run where there was tons of people talking about that. That was a huge thing too. So we've had these shows before. The Office had stuff. Not The Office, but it's a great show. But you can discuss. 24 had that impact. There's been shows
Lost
season 1 especially.
Yeah,
Sopranos. So there's a lot of these kind of shows. These are great examples. What would that possibly? Can we have any ideas?
So I'd like to sort of keep it more to those geeky things that sort of break through, like The Walking Dead and Game of Thrones.
That's what we know. The problem I have is this: the problem we have with Stranger Things and with The Witcher is you can't water cooler talk that because it's binged. It's out all at once.
I mean, that's a problem a little bit. It's different.
You can't talk about it because you don't know what
it's almost the same thing. You get the buzz. It's not like the drawn over.
And you get the people that have watched it and the people that haven't, and they kind of form these little piles, clicks or whatever.
It is different, because when you think about The Walking Dead, it has the episode, and Game of Thrones, you have the whole podcasts or even TV shows devoted to each episode right afterwards. You don't can't really. I mean, they did have that at the end of Stranger Things, but
I was gonna say they had a Stranger Things,
but it was just it's just a bonus thing at the end of it's just not the same thing. It's not going to be a live show that people talk about, or you see the characters who just died show up and talk. It's just a different thing. I don't know if it really matters, but it's a different thing, and it's not if you want to talk about water cooler, specifically the Monday afterwards, it's not going to be the same.
The week, even the week of conversations. So part of the Game of Thrones hype, I think, is build up. It's I'm probably
it is something I think we've lost a little bit with streaming, but when they try to bring it back in streaming shows, you're like, oh, why do I have to wait? This is stupid. So I don't know. It might be a trade-off, but
no, I agree that there was some of that anticipation of like, like what's gonna happen next, and everyone is waiting together, like you're all on the same page essentially. But I think that you still have that with these bingeable shows because you have people that watched it all, and you have people halfway through, and people like a quarter way through, and they just talk about as far as up to the person that's gotten like.
I mean,
talk about that.
That's hard to navigate though. It's a little bit different.
It's a little bit, but like still, like I think you do get shows that people will and want to, discuss afterwards because of something that's pretty cool or interesting that happened.
Yeah.
I mean, to answer the question, I think it's going to be the Lord of the Rings series on Amazon, right? Because that's next year, right?
And that will be like a weekly kind of release. I think you can have conversation based off of that. Sorry if I'm slowing down right now. I'm trying to open an article. Okay, good. I'm going to read you guys a couple of options. This TV Guide's they have an article based on this, so I can read you what they have listed here.
This wasn't your original idea, Jim?
No. Chronicles of Narnia. It's a Netflix show coming.
Yeah.
Cursed, which is an King Arthur legend on Netflix.
I saw a lot of buzz where they use the specific language to describe the show, but I don't know. It seems to honestly the title isn't good, so I don't know if it's gonna grab people enough.
It could. I mean that name might. I don't know. They might make you watch it. Dark Tower on Amazon.
I don't really think an Amazon one, honestly, is widespread enough to compete with like what we're talking about here.
Amazon's like, I don't know, man. I think Amazon Prime is everywhere with this.
It's on the way up, but I don't think that enough people really have it yet.
I see, but they made themselves a name with the Boys. They've had a couple of big hits.
I mean, the thing is, a lot of people have Amazon Prime. It's just, do people use Prime Video? And that's the thing. But and again, this is what I'm saying. Like every other studio is trying to catch up to Netflix. Every other studio. But I think Lord of the Rings is the first really big one that Amazon has a compelling feature to watch. Because Lord of the Rings is a known quantity. People like that shit.
The thing is, it's not Lord of the Rings, though. That's the thing that people, I don't know if they actually know that. So we'll see. It's like, it's a prequel to all of that stuff.
The other argument is before Game of Thrones, not many people knew Song of Ice and Fire. So it's
but it's not like they knew something.
But people know Lord of the Rings.
Was it, but not, they're not going to think it's something else.
That's the thing. I wonder, are they calling it Lord of the Rings? I don't know.
We don't know. We don't know.
They have to. I mean, they have.
I would think that
stupid to not use the name. They would be stupid to not use the name.
I mean, there's a bunch of the Kingkiller Chronicles.
I know that they were saying that about The Witcher, which obviously did like some big numbers on Netflix, but again, it was 8 episodes, and now it's going to be like how long before its second season? Like 2 years in between or something. So.
I'm curious though, like, because so far, like, you've talked a lot about a lot of fantasy, obviously Game of Thrones fantasy.
Yeah,
but like, I think the thing that Game of Thrones had going for it with fantasy though is that it wasn't in your face fantasy. Like Chronicles of Narnia and Lord of the Rings are like the epitome of what fantasy people think of when they think of fantasy, like non-fantasy people.
Game of Thrones initially was just like low hang, like not even low hanging fruit, just like bottom of the barrel fantasy and talk like, well, people walk around wearing like shitty looking clothes,
swords and
right, and they have swords and
there's talks of dragons, but there really aren't any dragons.
Yeah, like there weren't any dragons for years, until the end of its first season. So,
but like with Lord of the Rings, it's like full on orcs and elves and dwarves and stuff, which is the Tolkien fantasy, and then you have Narnia, which has got all the woodland creature type, fawns and talking animals and things like that. So like those are it's very like well-known quantities of what people think fantasy is. So I think what helped Game of Thrones was that it was kind of like a little sneaky, here's this nice little
it was like a fantasy show you could introduce to your significant other.
Right, exactly. And so I'm curious to see if there's going to be something that kind of can do that, because Witcher just went all in on it's just weird. I don't know. Witcher's weird, I guess. But it starts off with some crazy fantasy thing there, and then gets weird. But like, Oh, the Wheel of Time show I'm very curious about because I did.
That's another one, yeah.
I'll tell you what, not going to cause that same buzz is the new Game of Thrones series.
Yep.
Well, it could always just be the next Game of Thrones. You're right.
No, I'm saying it won't be because I hear nobody talk about Game of Thrones anymore, except
season 8 killed anything Game of Thrones on screen.
It really did. It really did kill that show.
Like nobody speaks fondly of that. Like it's only been a year, and like what, 2 or 3 months.
No, I think we talked about that too. It's like we've been stuck at home with nothing to do for 5 months. And nobody's gone back and watched Game of Thrones.
Nope.
Nobody.
Yeah, absolutely not. Yeah.
It's interesting though. I'm thinking about like what does like the last few have in common, like Game of Thrones and The Walking Dead, just for breaking into the mainstream like that. It's really just like characters die all the time. It's like depressing and
you want that like backstabbing, no character's safe kind of thing. You want that.
That's if you're talking about adult stuff. Like I would say Stranger Things is lighthearted. Hardly anybody dies until like 1 or 2 characters per season. I was gonna name names.
I mean, listen, Stranger Things
tables getting flipped.
Yeah.
There was that one character that died earlier in that one season.
Yeah,
right.
But
forgot about her.
She's not important.
Certainly like the adult factor is a good thing because, and this just goes back to other conversation where you're like, all this stuff, and I would say forefronted by Walking Dead, all this like geeky, like adult geek stuff is suddenly acceptable. It's like, oh, geek stuff can be cool and enjoyable, and not just for nerds. That's weird. Like, oh, okay, I like Walking Dead. I like Game of Thrones. Like.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You get the cool thing to like.
You get like the 55-year-old like soccer moms into something like that. They talk about it's like the whole. That's why Daryl's still around.
Right.
Yeah. And it's a interesting phenomenon, but I'm not sure. Like I kind of think of that and then Game of Thrones and then like what fits that space. That might not be the same conversation, but that's like. What's going to be that like? And I'm not even sure if everyone is ready or prepared to continue with something like as oppressive as these shows.
No, I don't.
Me personally, I'm sick of it myself.
Oh yeah, and that's why I have no interest. Not for the Moviecast, but that's why I have zero interest in Last of Us 2 right now.
Yeah, that too.
Not right now. But the thing is, I think what'll be key is like, I think people need something comforting and like. Slightly nostalgic. Like I think Stranger Things brought that where it's like, oh, you have people our age and maybe a little bit older and a little bit younger where like, it hits that age where like people can look back and be like, oh, that was a happier time, good memories, fireworks in the summer.
Like you're saying, it's like
Halloween.
People our age can remember those times when we were those kids at that age, and then kids today at that age be like, oh, look at these kids, what they're doing. Right. We could be doing this at their age, and so kind of. Fits all age groups in that sense.
Right. So I'm going to make a prediction here in that, and as we talked about earlier, as soon as Cobra Kai comes to Netflix, I guarantee you it's going to become popular. Like you're going to see tweets about it. Like it's going to be on Facebook. People are going to be like, oh my God, the show is great. And it's like, yeah, it is. Yeah. But it was, the platform only back. I'm not, hating on anybody for that. It's just the platform held it back.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see. I mean, the problem right now is how far behind are we on shows in terms of what's getting produced. We're not going to have much to talk about.
Right, but that's the other thing is too, and we talked about it, a couple weeks ago, and that again, all these other companies are scrambling. Netflix just has an arsenal of shit that is just like, yeah, this is mostly done.
Well, I mean, we just saw the Old Guard come out. Like 72 million people watched that.
So. Yeah, I mean, people are hungry for that. They want that discussion. We all want to have those discussions.
Netflix on any given day could just be like, let's just throw a dart at the dartboard and see what can just like drop tomorrow.
Speaking of Netflix, like you guys gotta listen to the Business Wars podcast. It's great.
Yeah.
Netflix versus Blockbuster. Check it out. Right. But I mean, and like to your point, Jim, like, do we even get something like that anytime soon? Like that's going to be that water cooler show that's talked about, or just like blows up social media or whatever. Who knows? It could be a couple of years before we see that.
Yeah, because I mean, it was the same thing like Mandalorian, right? Like I'd say Mandalorian, helped. I
mean, that was probably the most recent water cooler moment, I would say. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And for us nerds, the Clone Wars
Mandalorian did come out episodically, didn't it?
Yeah, it did, week by week. Because every week we would talk about the new episode and stuff like that.
Yeah, see, that's what they're going
I guess
for,
whatever the big, what are some big Disney Plus shows? Next big.
Well, the Hamilton,
all of them are up in the air.
That just blew up.
A lot of them are up in the air. The ones we thought we were getting are being pushed around a little bit. Like I think the Winter Soldier, Captain.
All those too coming.
Those that got moved around. I think. Yeah, I don't know.
Yep.
All right, so here's the scripted shows that are coming out for Disney Plus, the near future, quote unquote. Lizzie McGuire, that'll be popular with girls that watch that show. Monsters at Work, popular with kids maybe. The Sandlot, I didn't know they were doing that. Chip and Dale, which is animated.
Killing me, Smokes. Yep.
Muppets Now, a new series of short stories from the Muppets characters. Big Shot, John Stamos will star as a fired college basketball coach who's then hired to be a coach and teacher at an all-girls high school.
Sounds like Scandalous right there.
Yeah. Beauty and the Beast prequel, Turner and Hooch, The Proud Family, Louder and Prouder. Yeah. So, I mean, that's the scripted stuff. There's other unscripted stuff, but yeah, I mean, it'll probably be Mandalorian season 2. That's the bit. I mean, that's what
I think.
We're waiting on that, and you're waiting on the Marvel stuff that was supposed to be coming, but
I mean that got delayed now. So yeah. So unfortunately, but they did say that WandaVision is still coming this year, and is same for
Soldier.
Soldier
and
Falcon. Yeah. So we'll see. All right, I think that's gonna wrap this episode up. You can thanks for tuning in. You can write us podcast at allyoucangeek.net. You can follow us on Twitter, allyoucangeek. Like us on Facebook. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe and the like button. We appreciate it. See you guys next week. More topics coming your way. Thanks for listening.